here I've top stitched the front of the yoke down, and I'm going to put the backs onto the yoke. So I'm going to turn it over and turn it around this way. So I'll be stitching onto the lining again. And I have to make sure I get the right back in the right place. So I need it to be facing right side up, and I need the back edge level with the back edge of my yoke. So I'm going to put these together. I'm just lining up my back edges. I'm going to put a couple of pins in this time. There we go. So I'm going to stitch that one. So now I've stitched one of the backs in place, and I'm going to trim the seam and press it, and then sew the main back yoke down the way I did the front one. So trim it off, and I'm going to press this seam here. So I'll go and do that. So I've pressed the seam up into the yoke, and now I'm going to pin the main yoke over the top of the stitching line. Then I'll stitch that in place, and then I'll come back and I'll do the other one the same way. So here I've top stitched this one down as well. Now I've just got this one to go, so I'm going to turn it with the lining facing me, and then I'm going to put the straight edge of my back piece just on the lining. So I'm going to tuck this one out of the way, and I'm going to have my back piece facing me right side up and put it down on the lining. Match up the back edges. So now I'm going to sew this seam. Okay, so I've sewn this seam now, and I'm going to trim it off, same as I did for the others. And I'm going to press the seam up. By just putting the edge of the iron along the seam line there. So I'll come back when I've done that. So last bit, we're just going to pin the back yoke down and top stitch it in place. Now you'll see how I didn't stitch these back edges when I was doing the yoke. I decided that because this depth here is really narrow, it just makes it difficult to finish this with a seam and then try to fit the back in. So I thought I'd just do it all together and turn the back facing all at once, instead of having a neat edge here and the back facing just on the blouse part. I figured since I've got all this back facing being turned in on the blouse, I may as well turn in the back facing on the yoke as well. It's not going to affect the look of it, but it makes it so much easier to put the back pieces on if you leave these edges open when you sew the yoke. So you just sew around the neck and you leave these edges open. Makes it really easy to put the back pieces on. So I'll just sew this one now, and then we'll be able to crease our back facings and go on to the sleeve finishes. So here we've got the finished yoke section with the backs joined on and the front joined on. The next few steps are quite straightforward, so there aren't any videos for those. You should be able to follow the printed instructions with the little diagrams without any trouble.